Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. They're not going to keep him off the field tonight.
Hey, we are live. Hello and welcome to the AU Wishbone, brought to you by White Rocket Entertainment as always, and by the WarEagleReader.com, and by all of our great supporters and friends via Patreon.com. The Auburn family, the AU Wishbone family at Patreon.com. I'm Van Allen Plexico, and I'm here live, and I'm joined as always by my co-host.
I'm John Ringer.
And John, they built walls, they sent out armies, they banned us in 3 states, and yet we're back. They couldn't keep us away. We are back doing the AU Wishbone live video from the AU Bookstore in the loveliest village on the plains in Auburn, Alabama. What do you think?
It's very exciting to be back, especially in Haley Center, where you and I took so many classes in the years.
We
We
did.
were attending students here. But
Lots of classes.
it's very exciting to be at Auburn on campus on a big game day weekend.
We both worked in this bookstore.
We did.
I slaved away making copies in this bookstore for a long time and moving books around. That's right. So awesome to be back. We're back this year. We were here last year for the Arkansas game. This year we were here for the Georgia game. So we got an upgrade. Instead of banning us, we actually got an upgrade somehow. I'm not sure how that worked out. But
Slipped through.
yeah, but I'm very excited. And, of course, the soundboard is back as well.
Smoke weed every day.
Very happy to have that back. Everybody
We're
loves
so happy.
the happiness just oozes from my co-host, as always, at the Soundboard Fan Club is back.
Listen, if you say the word happiness, that picture of happiness was Van testing the soundboard and like everybody in the bookstore hearing all of the soundboard things as Van testing.
And they all have to hear it. For an hour or 5 hours, however long this lasts, you all are trapped.
You're trapped in here.
I'm going to say, the soundboard isn't in here with you. You're in here with the soundboard. So, this is interesting. It was a kind of a cold, rainy day today, and so I'm not sure what the zeitgeist, what the energy is like on campus today, but I'd rather have this today and sunny and 60 tomorrow for the football game, right? Because we're going to be indoors for the basketball game tonight. Yeah. So, I mean, of the two, right, this is the way you'd like it to shake out. So we'll see. We're hoping that some folks come by. We'll have some guests lined up for you. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about the Auburn-Georgia game. We'll be talking about the basketball game maybe a little bit. We got the history of Auburn-Georgia we're going to get into a little bit. We got a lot to talk about over the next hour or so. So what are your – well, I guess we need to talk about our plans for the weekend first, right? So what do we got going on this weekend?
So we're doing this right now. Later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Central, we're going to have a book signing in the Auburn University Bookstore along with Ken Ringer, who's the author of Lorendo. So you could come, you can purchase one of our books, you can purchase his book, you can purchase some other book, or bring some book that you've already read that you own, and we'll sign it too. It doesn't matter.
We're not picky.
Yeah, you can bring your copy of whatever the first Game of Thrones book, and we'll sign that.
We've talked a lot about those.
By George R. R. Martin. It's fine. So
that's right.
Excited to do that, and then we're going to the men's basketball game tonight against the Matadors
of something called See Sun. Today you don't really see sun, but tomorrow we're going to see sun.
Tonight we're going to see sun.
Tonight we're going to see sun, and then tomorrow we're going to seesaw by the seashore, apparently, and sashay over there to it. But I was just trying to think on the way down. The last time I actually went to an Auburn home basketball game, because I've been in they played in St. Louis a couple of years ago. Tournament I went there. But the last time I probably went to an Auburn basketball tournament, I was probably a student here the last time I went to a basketball game here. So I'm very excited. Of course, the tickets cost a little bit more.
And the team's a little bit better.
The team's a little bit better. There's a trade-off. Yeah, I was paying to see like Tommy Joe Eagles, lose to Ole Miss or something. But that's fine. So let's see. So what else we got going on? We've got the halftime. Oh yeah, halftime at the basketball game.
So what we talked about was potentially at halftime in the basketball game, so people who listen to the podcast and follow us and that kind of stuff, we would meet and go to there's a museum place on the concourse of the basketball arena, and we would go there and meet, and anybody who wanted to show up at the basketball game and meet us up at halftime, we'll come out at halftime and say hi.
That'd be cool.
Shake hands and visit with people, and that'd be fun.
And there's a special deal. Do they have beer in the arena? Are we a wet basketball arena? I was going to say the usual deal is if you meet me at halftime and buy me a beer, I will let you buy me another beer. It's a special deal only at this event. So
I don't think we sell beer.
Well, that's too bad. I've lived in the big cities too long. All right, well, we've got special guests coming up, looking forward to. But I guess in the meantime, we can go ahead and be talking a little bit about you want to bring Delvin in and talk about Auburn, Georgia?
Sure.
Let's bring Delvin Williams in. Come on in, Delvin. Come on, man. So we've got another member of our network here, Delvin Williams. You may know him from our James Bond podcast series. Follow her. She will lead you around. It's a convoluted process to get on the show. But we want to talk a little bit about Georgia because we got a big, I don't know if you've heard this, John, there's a big tackle football game going on tomorrow on this campus.
I have heard this.
And so we've got to figure out, friend of the show. There is Delvin. What's up, man? Good to see you.
You too. Hey.
Just bring you right on board as soon as you get here.
No, walk in the bookstore, you're in.
You're in, man. So yeah, Delvin is a friend of the show, part of our network. He's on the what is the James on Her Majesty's Secret podcast.
MI6
Rookie Agents. Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly how you phrased it. So yeah, it's very popular with the folks out there. So say hello to our Wishbone audience, Delvin. All right,
everybody. So
let's have a little talk about Georgia then. So we're facing a Georgia team that's got a very good defense and a so-so offense, which sounds a lot like us. It's almost like a mirror image, of what we're looking at. But it's in our stadium. But they may have a slightly better offense than us. I don't know. So let me start with our guest, Delvin. What do you see as the major determinant in how it's going to come out tomorrow? What do we need to do, and what's going to determine that?
Well, I was hearing a little bit about what Gus was saying, and he was mentioning establishing the run. You know that's one of the things that Georgia's very good at stopping.
Exactly.
But hopefully he comes up with a few good schemes, a few good ideas to keep Georgia on their toes that gets that run established, maybe a few over the top that continues to keep that run established, and that leads us to victory.
How important is the passing game going to be to getting the run going? I mean, because the one has to feed off the other, right?
Yeah, I think about under Gus how Auburn's been successful and what he wants. And he wants that big explosion play, those gash plays in the pass game, and then that gets everyone to settle back. And then that run game keeps going and going, and then just that one over the top again to keep people going. Looking how the weather's going to be now, too, especially. If you get one or two of those.
Yeah.
But it's like this today. Tomorrow it's going to be like 58 and sunny.
Totally different. Yeah, we're saying we're getting the bad stuff out of the way today, and then tomorrow's going to be a good football weather. We're hoping so.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So we should have Whitlow back.
Okay.
100%, I'm assuming. And now that DJ Williams has gotten in some action, what can we do with the two of them together?
Hopefully really good things.
I'm hoping.
What Gus had been doing earlier this year was kind of doing a little bit of DJ, a little bit of Cam, and then have Booby come in the second half being that bell cow to lean on. So he's not doing the full game fresh and not doing it half game. Now he has two very good running backs to choose from. So maybe it's featuring DJ in the first half, Booby the second half. Maybe it's an intermix of the two.
Yeah.
The one thing I would caution people about is I think everybody wants to see DJ Williams play and get the ball. And I think what if Gus decides to use him as the closer in the second half and plays Whitlow a bunch in the first half, and then you see a situation where Auburn is kind of, say it's a low-scoring defensive game and we're kind of struggling and we're running Whitlow a lot and we're not running DJ Williams, and I think people will be concerned at that point. But I think I could see that scenario too. Maybe he likes Whitlow for the second half because he has more experience, but DJ Williams has been so good, maybe he's that guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he's been explosive. It's been fun to watch.
I mean, he seems like the kind of back that in the SEC you can depend on. You know what I mean? How would you use Shivers if you were the coach? I mean, what would you do with him? Would you? What do you think, Doug?
Shivers has been a good change of pace, but he's one of those smaller guys who isn't afraid to go up the middle.
He's not afraid.
I mean, he puts absolute thump on people once he gets that momentum going. So you can't just use him one way. You can't use him as a speed guy around the middle. We have a couple of guys like Schwartz, Stowe for that. So he can be that good change of pace where you're expecting that lumber to come through and no, he's going to be that fast guy that you can't get a beat on and you can't see him behind the O-line.
Yeah. Yeah, and somebody described him as as a terrier that thinks he's a mastiff or whatever, he thinks he's bigger than he is. I want to ask you, I heard Brandon on his show yesterday, I believe it was, saying an interesting point. He said that you're not going to be able to do a lot of the wide stuff like we did on Oregon against Georgia because their speed is going to shut us down on the edges. We got to run right at them. Unfortunately, you're running right into the strength of their front line there. So are we going to be able to move the ball at all? I mean, or is it just like one of these things where our strength matches up against their strength and we're deadlocked? I'm afraid the game's going to be 0. It's like when they played Kentucky. I'm afraid the game's going to be 0-0 in the third, fourth quarter,
I think we're going to have to come out a little bit and throw to set up the run. I think Georgia's 100% going to come in and say, we're going to take the run away. Like, that's what we're going to do.
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
Make Auburn not run the ball.
Yeah.
And I think we have to throw the ball on first down, and we have to give Nick some easy throws, some nice easy throws to Stove and Schwartz and those kind of guys. I think Georgia's going to take away the run. They're going to try to take away Seth Williams. Because I think if you were playing Auburn, that's what you do. That's the easy answer. And so I think that's what they're going to do. And Auburn has to be ready to do other things. But I do think 100% we're going to keep running the ball. And especially I think Williams has the ability to break tackles and even if the defender's in the right position to get positive yards out of the play.
J.J. Wilson I would like to see catch a couple 5 dozen passes. I think he's the kind of guy, right? He can find that seam in the middle and get you a good first down, keep you from getting behind the sticks. I worry that I worry that we're going to do that, drop back, survey the field, get sacked, be constantly 3rd and 15.
I think one of the things we did 2 weeks ago in the Ole Miss game that really helped Nix a lot was a lot of quick passes. Just a lot of timing, a lot of get him out, get the ball out of his hand quickly to different people.
Auburn should have a blueprint for a little bit of misdirection because we've had a good defense with speed that you can't just go in one direction really fast. You can't bring up the middle, but you can allow misdirection.
Yeah.
So if we catch Georgia a little bit undisciplined, we should have enough plays to allow for some misdirection, possibly maybe a jet sweep, maybe a reverse. To mix it in and keep them a little bit off balance.
That's a great call because remember what happened in 2017 here. It was the kind of the setup play we all thought we knew what was going to happen. It ended up being the screen to carry on going the other direction. So that's exactly the kind of play you're talking about that will work because Georgia has probably scattered us so well they know what we're going to do. When we line up to do it, they'll be going in that place where they expect the ball to go, and then we do something else.
Right. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this too because we were going to talk a little about the history of the series. What is your history with Auburn and Georgia? Have you gone to many of the games over the years? Do you have a sorted? Are you on the wanted list in Athens, Georgia, or anything like that? Like we probably are.
No, I took myself off of that wanted list because the freshman year for me back in '95 was the first time that I went to Athens, and I went there and I just remember there was like an old drunk guy, probably younger than I am now, but an older guy like that was drunk and in my face, and it was kind of like the thing of the day. We had Stephen Davis, our running back. It was, I guess, Georgia funny to call him Stephanie. No,
yeah.
Really. Yeah. So I just remember that person being really rude to me for whatever reason. Yeah.
A Georgia person was rude. I can't.
Crazy. Absolutely, just
shocking.
And I think the last time I went to Athens was an Auburn loss. Unfortunately, it was in 2007. And sure enough, why that's so memorable is that once they knew they were firmly kicking our behinds, they did the Soldier Boy thing.
Oh, right. That was the infamous.
It was, yeah.
The '95 one is interesting. That was the one that was freezing cold. I remember they were tearing out their own. For once, it was them tearing out the hedges instead of whoever was beating them. Right, tearing out the hedges because they were going to make the Olympic soccer game stadium field in there, and so I was wanting to set those things on fire because it was so cold for that game. But
if I'm not mistaken, Hines Ward was the quarterback. They were very hurt as far as the quarterback position, and they had Hines Ward as the quarterback.
We won. I remember that we won that game.
He did everything in that game.
He was there everything that they had. That's right. So, okay. So, what else we got, John? We're toward we've talked about Georgia a little bit in the history. Well, while we got you here, Devin, just for another couple of minutes, what are you thinking about the basketball team this year? I mean, have you seen? I know you weren't able to see the third game because we were talking on Twitter about that. But
yeah, I was stubborn about it.
I threw the $5 down. I'm like, for what I'm paying to see the game tomorrow night or tonight, I can pay $5 to watch it on TV. But we lost so much. But look, they look kind of they don't look like they quite know how to play together yet. Is that the impression you have? But yet the talent.
Well, that is the advantage of having these pre-conference games, is that you're supposed to figure out what the heck your team is. And if you can figure it out and win at the same time,
it's a bonus.
Then that's even better, because as Kentucky just showed us, that's not a given.
That's right, man.
And so if they're able to figure out kind of who's their three-point shooters, which would be nearly the whole team, who's their inside guy, which should be pretty figured out, but maybe there's one or two, who's that person that you want to have the ball when it comes down to clutch time, then, hey, these are great ways to figure that out. And
do it now, yeah.
With our main leaders being gone from last year, and now it's a crazy position for Auburn to be in, because that talent level coming back, we have talent. and it's going to be fun to watch, and people are excited about the season, and they're already backing it up with wins. It is a high position for an Auburn basketball fan to be a part of.
Well, I mean, in the past, when we've had talent even approaching what we had the last couple of years, it was usually for 1 year, and then they're all gone. Yeah. It's just crazy to imagine that we're actually like the train is rolling, and we're going to keep and the recruiting class coming in, right? What are you thinking, John, about our
I mean, one of the things that, for people who really got into basketball last year and hadn't watched it a lot before, basketball teams develop a lot more between the beginning of the season and the end of the season, because they get more games. There's more chances. They play together more in different circumstances. So they improve and change and develop a lot more than a football team or some other sports that has fewer opportunities. And so if you'd watched last year's basketball team at this time, they didn't look anything like the team that was playing in March in Atlanta or in Minneapolis or wherever.
There was a moment toward the end of the SEC season that we seriously started to wonder if we were going to make the NCAA tournament last year. Basketball is so different in the sense that it can change so dramatically in such a short period of time. You know, we were getting blown out at Kentucky and wondering if we can't beat Ole Miss or Georgia, whoever, who was bad, we might not even make the tournament. So, Dylan, what do you think about Javon McCormick at point? Is he going to be able to carry us this year, or it's what we got, right?
It's what we have, and the one thing, the game I saw, you can't stay in front of the guy.
Yeah. And
that is similar to what Jared Harper had, to where if you look again with Kentucky game, this time NCAA tournament, when it came to clutch time, give the ball to Jared Harper, no one can stay in front of him. That's a luxury to have. Yeah. So if McCormick starts to figure that out early, that, hey, if I'm under control and no one can stop me, and then what can I do from that point on, we're in a great position.
I feel like great tournament teams are teams that the guards can step up and take over. And right now I feel like we're more of a forwards and center team, just because of having Wiley and having those guys like Anthony, McLemore, that have been around for a while. I'm hoping our guards I don't think anybody's going to be Jared and Bryce last year at the end of the season. That was just, they were out of their minds. But if we can just maybe step up a little bit, get like you say, get into the season a little bit and kind of get that cohesion going, that would be great. So
I'll add one more thing to that.
Mm-hmm.
It is the thing that I loved the most about the tournament run last year was, besides Jared and besides Bryce, was the entire team got it.
Yeah.
And it is such a fun thing when you can see a team where everyone settles into their role. When we lost Chumokiki, we probably should have been done. Yeah. But everyone knew exactly what they were doing, and the entire team was completely confident in that. Yeah. And if we can find a way to get that back, then
the unselfishness too.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Lightning in a bottle.
It really would. Right. And that's basketball. Yeah, you just never know when a team's going to catch fire like that. So you can't really. That's why I've been saying, all the off season, let's please don't go into this basketball season expecting another year like last year. If it happens, great. But again, just a couple of weeks before the tournament, we weren't even sure we were going to make the tournament. So you just never know how that, chemistry, even more than by far than in football, the chemistry has to just be just right for it to happen. So let's see. Do we want to do our drawing, John?
Let's do it.
Let's do our drawing. So what happened was we have our show doesn't have advertisements. We are supported entirely by our listeners, and our viewers in cases like this via Patreon.com. So if you want to support the show, we really appreciate it to let us do things like this, because we have bills to pay, just normal ones plus on our excursions like this. And so go to www.auwishbone.com. Just go to www.auwishbone.com, and there's a become a patron, and you get various benefits. You get to do the power poll. That's right. Do we have a power poll this week?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. See, so you can become a voter in that. We do all kind of crazy things. Gosh, we have a fantasy Formula One league. We have all kind of things that go on. So what I did was we were at about 90-something patrons after about a year and a half of it, and I said if we can get over 100 by the end of October, we'll have a drawing and give away some special prizes. And we've got a variety of things we've come up with. Jared, the yard sale artist, the co-host with Delvin on the Bond Show, he's contributing some stuff.
Brings the eagle every week.
And yes, he does our superhero battle analogy and tells us what's going on with the eagle, which is horrifying that animal is
very concerning.
It's torturing Pat. Poor Pat is just being tortured by the eagle. We're hoping that Jared will have a whole writer's room. He can be the showrunner next year, and we can have like a whole writer's room and just develop this whole like Dallas Dynasty soap opera out of the eagle and Pat. So, but in the meantime, I said if we got over 100, we'd have a drawing for some special prizes, and we got over 100. So there's all of our patrons. This is a hat that we stole.
No. This is a special hat contributed by the Auburn University Bookstore for this moment.
And then we give it back.
Plenty of wonderful merchandise available in the bookstore, so help yourselves while you're here.
Here are all 104 of our patrons. All of them right here, and we appreciate every one of them. And I'm going to now shuffle them around. I think we should probably draw, 4 or 5, because we've got some patrons that are patrons for the James Bond show, some for like when we talk about Game of Thrones and stuff like that. Some are patrons purely for you guys' show or for Alan Porter and me talking about them. And then most are for the Wishbone. So like I said, Jared's got an Albee picture he's done that he's going to contribute. There's other stuff. We got some Bond stuff. Jared's always got Bond stuff he can give away.
Absolutely.
We'll get some more stuff, So basically we're going to wait. Oh, yeah, and Elvis has got, go ahead.
All right, so this is how creative our special producer, Auburn Elvis,
It's amazing.
is. He's so good. Special thank you again, Auburn Elvis, who's producing the show.
There he is. We are the only show with Auburn Elvis as our producer.
He made these little figures that are like Minecraft figures of Van and I that come with little plastic bodies and a little desk, and then you can cut out these figures, the people, and put them over the plastic bodies and have a little desk with like the two of us sitting there.
So if we're not a video, if you're only listening on audio, you can like set them up there and just it's the Wishbone experience right there in your own home. Who would not want that? Okay, so here we go. My point of all that was we've got lots of different kind of prizes. So if you're an Auburn person, you can get something like that. If you're only in it for other stuff, we'll find other prizes, right? So we got lots of different prizes. We'll let the winners choose what they get. Okay. We'll give them a list of items. So, Delvin, you're here. Why don't you draw out the first name? If it's Jared, it goes back in.
Absolutely.
All right, who we got?
Thomas Brinson.
Okay, cool. Thomas Brinson. Let's set that one down.
All right.
John, draw out number 2. They have not been refrigerated, so we can find the right name.
Ruth and Darren Sutherland.
Awesome. They're a cool couple that support lots of shows like ours, and that's really nice. All right, that's my turn. Let's do 6 because we got 3 of us.
That's good.
And then we'll say goodbye to Delvin and see what else we need to do. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Steve Harlan. Okay, there's 3 down. 3 to go. Delvin, number 4. We are nothing but generous. We're giving away 6 prizes. See, the patrons paid for printer paper and ink for me to print these out. See, it's amazing the stuff the bills that we rack up doing this expensive, high quality show.
We have James Taylor.
Okay, James Taylor. 4 down, 2 to go.
I'm trying to sift out the big pile here. Get some out of the middle.
Yep.
All right. Phil Davis.
Phil Davis. All right. And finally, our final winner. Going to really shake him up. Really turn him over.
You could cut the tension with a knife.
Will it be? Who will it be? And it is Preston Settle. All right, so there are 6 folks that will be receiving prizes. How exciting. How exciting. All right. Delvin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for
Great to have you on,
Thank
man.
you. Good to see you.
All right.
War Eagle, guys.
War Eagle.
Eagle, man.
War Eagle. Let's beat Georgia. All right, let's see.
Well, we have to show the video that has the patrons' names in it.
Oh, yeah. So we got to thank our patrons. And if Elvis will fire up the video, I guess, do you need me to say anything?
All right, here are our patrons. This is the list that is current as of today, a few days before making the trip down to the loveliest village on the plains. And we thank them every episode for all their great support in making things like this show, the podcast, the video, this trip, the new equipment, everything possible to keep us doing the best shows that we can do. And I hold in my hands here, these are the printed out pages of our patrons, and I will be slicing them up in little strips to use for the drawing, which we may have already done or we will be doing right after this video segment. So let me just say, here are our current patrons that we thank, okay? Here we go. Matthew Flowers, Carl Von Drunker, Samuel Salvatore, and Christopher Burleson. Thanks, guys. And then there's Phil Amthor, Ben Spooner, Gary Grant, a.k.a. AU Fan KSC, Wynn Carroll, Brian Gray, Winston Body, Willie Carden. And Willie, I appreciate what you did for this trip. Tom Anderson, Susan Trawick, Logan Chilton, Stephen Thompson, Chris Usher, Justin Bean, Steve Trawick, and Richard Stevens. Hey, Richard. And then William Morgan, Phil Davis, Joshua Corbett, John Otsuki, Preston Settle, Daniel Odom, AU Falling Up, Alchemist, Kevin Smith, Clarence Alford, Will Summerford, David Hegler, Robert J. Mendenhall, Johnny Caldwell, Theodore Gary, Reynolds Wolf, hey Reynolds, Joel Beckham, Valiant Hermes, Jacob and Robin Fleming, you guys are awesome, Clay Henson, and Kanjian, I'm still pronouncing your name right, I hope. Catherine England, George Gaston, John McCune, David Evers, Andrew Barber, Timothy, Steve Harlan, Dan Thompson, Wes Atkinson, Rich Reimer, Jared Albrick, what's up, Yard Sale, William Glenn Matthews, Stephen Houston, Cato the Barner, Danny Flack, Papa Todd, Russell Milling, Kevin Kenoy, Don Zederman, Ross, Lane Middleton, Shannon Butson, Randall Walker, Mickey B, Hugh Anderson, Shane Bailey, Mick Vijacana, Chris Thrash, Tony Perry, Alex Nguyen, Josh Teal, David Simpson, Earl Ricks, Mike Finley, and C.T. Wayne. And finally, Jeremy Minton, Wardam Wade, Spanky, J.W. Rice, Jason Albrick, Kevin Mahan, Stephen Wyatt, Trevor Johnson, Auburn Elvis, he's right over there, or is it over there? I don't know. Robert Drain, Brandon Smith, Royce Alvarez, Thomas Brinson, David Smiley, Matthew Wagstaff, Donnie Reynolds, Wade Carson, Ivor Evans, John Zavachin, Michael Morton, Lawrence Kane, Darren Pyle, Chris Camo, Ben Amos, Ruth and Darren Sutherland, Patrick Williams, Rob Morgan, Stephen Schuster, James Taylor, John Stubbs, Kenneth Brent Raines, Nicholas Craig, Joey Miller, Mark Squire, Chris and Brant Rumble, plus, of course, the awesome Surfer Chickify and our anonymous donors. We thank you all. Now back to the show.
All right, that was exciting. Got to see inside my basement for a little while. By the way, we do a live video show now on and off Sunday afternoons, right? So, and the cool thing, if you want to join us on there, is that you get to type in questions and comments that actually pop up on the screen, and I can throw them over, and John and I can talk about them. So you can literally be a part of the show if you join us for our YouTube show. Just go to our YouTube channel, which is AU Wishbone TV on YouTube. And it pops. It's usually, we usually do it about what, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, Sunday, yeah. So, all right. So I guess we want to talk some more about Georgia, and we've got some listener questions coming up. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the history of it. I mean, you and I we've literally written books on that included the history of Auburn, Georgia. What is it about the Auburn-Georgia rivalry that is so important for us, and how has it changed?
It's funny. You made the point the other day that one of the things that's changed in the rivalry and made it more bitter is Georgia has won more.
Yeah.
And
that'll do it.
Has changed the dynamic of it. And this morning I did an interview with David Housel that we're going to have in a future podcast to use for some other stuff. And he said the exact same thing. He said the exact same thing that Georgia.
And I say you.
Here we so the change that used to be when the series was very, very even, that there was a lot more respect in the rivalry, and the teams and the fans respected each other more, and they got along better, and there was more of that. And as Georgia has won more, that dynamic has changed, and there's less respect in it, and there's also less of the kind of the crossover, and that over the years, many times there were coaches or staff that went back and forth that worked at the different universities, and that contributed to the two sides. The programs respecting each other outside of the fans. But I do think it's a different dynamic now. I think some of the things that we've seen over the last 15 years, especially you think about like the Soldier Boy thing, the Cam Newton the game, the Nick Fairley, Aaron Murray stuff, those all contributed to it.
But I think to clarify that point, I mean, when two teams are playing each other every year and they're back and forth like we were with Georgia for decades there, whether it was we would always win in Athens, they would always win here or whatever. Both sides are kind of like, I can live with that. It's a big rivalry. They're big teams. If they win every other year and we win every year, I'd like to win more, but I can live with it. But when one team not only starts winning way more often than they should, but more than we feel like they should, you start getting that hostility and resentment and anger, and you start looking for answers. And it's I think that's come to this series. And so the easiest answer there is beat them. Yeah. Beat them. You beat them dogs, and that'll solve a lot of your problems in life if you beat them dogs. Yeah. So you want to bring in Mira to do our listener questions? She's ready. She got it. Here we go.
Special guest live appearance as opposed to recorded appearance, Mira, doing the introduction for listener questions. All right, it's okay. So
the excitement of live TV. You don't get this production value on our regular show.
It's time for listener questions on the AU Wishbone podcast live video show. Ba-ba-bum.
All right. Awesome. Way to go, Mira. That was a live rendition of what we have on audio time. So, you are in charge of listener questions as always. What have we got?
I have coordinated with Auburn Elementary, so we have special delivery listener questions.
Oh, production value increases. All right, what we got? Oh, we got to do most interesting.
All right, there we go. All right, this is the first question. Is from Ben Spooner, and I saved this one for the live show because I enjoyed this. So this was after the Ole Miss game. He said, as always, great show. Even though for the first time last week I found myself in almost complete disagreement with John and agreeing with Van. He said,
smoke weed every day.
He said, insert, what the hell is the world coming to?
What the hell is the world coming to? And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
Very nice. Kirby Smart with the communist logo. It's very, very nice. I salute you. That was outstanding. All right, so Ben's question is basically about the Auburn passing game. He says, do you believe it's Malzahn's constant failure to incorporate the running back in the passing game that's what's hurting Knicks against good defenses? And he goes on to talk about how, when you have so many guys in the box versus so many defenders and so many blockers, that the running back is often the extra guy. And a lot of times, you see these in modern passing offenses that makes it easy pass where the running back is out there. And we saw this last week a lot with LSU using Edwards-Helaire like that.
Oh, they used him. Well, I did say that one of my official reactions to the Alabama-LSU game is I would like me that LSU offense. I've loved Gus's offense since 2009/2013, whatever. But we're at the point now where I'm starting to wonder if maybe the new shiny thing might be better. I don't know. But that offense was so impressive, and they used that running back in ways that I started to say creative, but honestly just like normal, It's like use them. I mean, one of the criticisms we've talked about in the past has been that we tend to run plays based on personnel. So if we put person A in, we're going to run this play. If we put person B in, we're going to run that play, and the defense knows it. And so, unless Gus has been like using the previous 9 games to set up this brilliant thing where we actually like throw the ball to Shivers or something like that. So I wish that we would provide Nick some easy, short passes in the middle, like with J.J. Wilson, or the running back coming out the flat, some little screens, something that just give him some more options, right? What do you think?
We have to make it easier for him. Especially against good defenses.
Yes.
And give him an alternative. There could be guys downfield and guys in intermediate routes, but there has to be something easy at the end instead of run for your life.
Run for your life, yeah. Survey the field, run for your life, lose. Yeah, he's a better quarterback than the position I'm afraid he's gotten put into a lot. Yeah. He's not the quarterback we saw at Florida.
No, but I think you saw in the first half of Ole Miss game, he was quick and decisive and delivering the ball and making things happen, and they were giving him those kind of shorter, easier crossing routes and stuff that I think we're really working, and I think we're going to see some more of that tomorrow, I hope. All right, good question, Ben. Thank you. All right, next question is from Samuel Salvatore.
We got like the novelists writing questions this week. What's up with that,
I'm
man?
going to give you the summary version.
This would not fly on our YouTube channel. Yeah, go ahead.
His question is basically about the College Football Playoff Committee and how they don't penalize teams for playing easy schedules.
Exactly. Oh, my gosh. What have I been saying all week on Twitter about Oregon? Oregon is ranked 6 spots ahead of us because they didn't go to Florida and they didn't go to LSU. That's the only reason that Oregon is considered a playoff team, maybe, and we're not, is because they didn't have to do those things.
Well, or I would say another one is like, why is it Oregon ranked ahead of Alabama? They both have 1 loss. Oregon has actually beaten some teams.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, Alabama gets the benefit of the doubt and everything, though. That's just the law of the college football. But no, I agree. It's ridiculous. But we got to hope it's going to all shake out, though, right? You got to hope. So.
And I think again, I don't get wrapped up in the week-to-week college football playoff rankings. I think that's silly to get upset about those because I think that one of the big things they do at the end is they're supposed to apply a kind of a credit or a differentiator to teams that win their conference. And so when a team actually wins their conference at the end and they've confirmed they win their conference, I think they're going to adjust the rankings based on that. And I think you're going to see teams, that win other conferences end up ahead of some of the SEC teams that aren't, that don't win the SEC, the teams that come in that don't. So
we'll see.
All right, next question. From Stephen Houston. All right, so his question is a question that we got a while ago that I've been thinking about for a good while.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the name Davis appears on the back of Javaris Davis's jersey. When is the last time before this that name could appear on an Auburn jersey without the first initial?
Because we had like 7 at one point a couple of years ago. We had a recruiting class that had like 5 in it.
Yes. The Davises, multiple
The
Davies.
Davi.
However you say multiple Davises. So
I don't have facts to back this up.
But I think there were quite a few, so yeah.
So is there a point in time when you can remember like pre-Davises? I was thinking about it and I went back and looked at some depth charts. There was a point in time, I think, when Tristan Davis was the only Davis on the team.
That's having to go way back.
But I think since then, you could think about it. We've had 2 or 3 Davises on the team every year since then.
That was more recent than Stephen Davis, right? Somewhere in there.
Yes,
so, yeah.
No, that was like, Tristan Davis was like 2008.
Yeah, it was late. Was it late Tuberville, maybe?
Late Tuberville?
Something like
7?
That. Sounds.
5,
sure.
6, 7? Okay,
we'll declare it. We declare it
go.
thus. All right.
So I think that was the time period when we last had.
That's a long time.
One Davis. It is a long time, but it's something about us and collecting Davises.
It is the law that we have to have at least one Davis on our team at all times. So. Otherwise, we get on probation.
You don't make the wall.
I just obey it.
He don't want to say, at the end of Stephen's question, he said, "Thank you for the years of counseling, therapy, and celebrations."
Well, we it's gone. What the heck?
No.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we got to get better at celebrating.
We do, and I'm hoping that tomorrow we'll have a reason to get better. But yeah, I did want to mention that for a second. It's funny. That's one of the things that I never really imagined. You know, in 2012. I guess that's kind of what we were doing in 2012 was therapy, right? But when we started this show with like 5 listeners in 2012, I never would have imagined that people would say that we were providing therapy. But yet I hear all the time people say that I'm angry or I'm depressed or I'm upset about what happened on Saturday, and I listen to your show to kind of feel better about things. So I guess that's what we're doing. I mean,
back then we used to compare it to you're going to the dentist,
yes.
getting your teeth drilled every week.
Every
it wasn't
week.
pleasant or fun, but
man, Texas A&M did some root canal. I'm still hurting from that Texas A&M game.
So that wasn't fun, but I think part of it is we have the same joy as all the other fans when we win, and when we lose, we try and talk through it about how we feel about it, how it makes us feel. And
put it in perspective, I think. Yeah, get some perspective and all that. So, yeah.
And one of the big things we did is move the show to Monday instead of Sunday.
Yeah, that's huge. Because, I mean...
and I say you!
Because when we did the show on Sunday, we would still be upset. And by Monday, we've kind of taken a few cleansing breaths, and we can actually think rationally about it. You have another question there from Dan Thompson.
All right, next question from Dan Thompson. He asks, what are your thoughts on Spencer Hall's article this week about the Auburn Tigers, college football's greatest ruiner of things, that Spencer Hall put out in Banner Society? It was really good.
Well, Spencer Hall's a talented writer. I've said that for many years. And I know he's a Florida guy, but you take it with a grain of salt that he's going to be pro-Florida in everything he says, and therefore he's going to make shots at Alabama or Auburn or whoever, or Georgia, you know.
And again, there's a reason the Florida guy drops that column this week, okay? It's a setup.
Oh, no. I don't have it. Again,
it's there.
I'm used to my to my little computer board. I'm not used to having the
And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
No, that's for our receiver. That's not for this. But anyway, we'll go with that. So, but no, yeah. So you think he's deliberately trying to undermine us in this big game?
I think he's setting up us to ruin Georgia's season and kind of point out that that's what's coming.
Okay. Well, he makes a good point, though. He goes through a list of – now, I thought it was interesting that from a Florida guy's perspective, Auburn was ruining things for college football when we won. Right? He's like, Auburn is ruining things by them having a good season or them winning a game. I'm like, well, isn't that kind of the point? We're trying to win. I'm sorry that us being successful ruins things for you. Oh, I turned into Nick Saban again. I'm sorry that us doing well ruins things for you. But we're not. That's the point, right, of football. We want to win. So,
and I think that's especially the point of this year. Is like one of the great joys for me would be like to stick it to Georgia and Alabama and deny them any hope of making the playoff.
Alabama is the vampire that you just gotta keep nailing them stakes in to get that corpse to stay dead, because it'll come back. It'll come back to life. So.
All right, Doug, we have one more question, I think, or no?
Not that one.
All right.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, Theodore Roosevelt asked, he says, does this year's LSU team remind you of 2010 Auburn? Amazing offense with Heisman frontrunner QB and good to below average defense that gets stops when they're needed. So
they do seem to be incredibly clutch, as he says. That's
also
fair.
like the 2010 team, they really rise to the moment, and when they need it, they make plays.
I think it worked out very well for them that their two biggest games so far, arguably us, because we played them so close, us and Alabama, they got us in LSU. I think if that had been here, we would have won. Mm-hmm. And they got Alabama in Alabama, but that was a game that they were so emotionally up for. I don't know that they were that emotionally up to play us because, it was a big home game for them, but them playing Alabama this year was a huge thing, right?
It was a big mental hurdle.
So the schedule has kind of set up for them in that way. They got to play Texas early and get a nice test, get a feel for themselves, but Texas wasn't going to do a lot for them, and so on. And so it all kind of it's fallen into place for them. I think it's worked out well. So okay. So where are we?
His second part of his question is: does anyone know where Nick Coe went? led the team in sacks last year, but this year rarely ever sees the field. And
it's just one of those things. I mean, the other guys have stepped up and playing even better than they were, so it happens. They're kids,
and I think, again, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds, and we always assume development is linear and guys are going to get better and better over the course of 4 years. So some guys get better and some guys regress a little bit.
We've made do without him being at the top of his game. If he would come on now, that would be great, though.
It could help.
It would help.
Make a huge difference here.
It would help. Do we want to have a visit from the most interesting coach? I actually have just some facts about him here. If we want to do that,
I think we can do that.
I believe I need the. Okay, so basically this is a bit we started doing a couple of years ago. I haven't done it in a while, but I thought I'd bring it back up from the crypt for one more run. And to do that, this is Coach Snyder occasionally comes on the show. He hadn't been on in a while. He hadn't had a lot to say since he quit coaching. But he was telling me about a coach he knew that was just the most interesting coach in the world. And I'm like, well, Coach Snyder, what makes him so interesting? Referees have issued him sideline warnings for not being on the field enough. The result of his NCAA investigation, they gave him extra scholarships. And finally, the Gipper once won a game for him. The most interesting coach in the world. There you go.
Very nice.
All right.
Very nice.
We can retire that one forever now. That was one last go around for it.
No. We got to bring that back at some point.
All right. So let's see. We're in our last little bit of time here. What else is left on our agenda? Around the SEC.
About the games that are happening this weekend.
Do we want to get Mira back to do that, or is she around? Here she comes. So this is one of our last segments that's always very well known. Here we go. we make poor Elvis have to
we made a careful plan, and then we
blow it up.
It's time to take a trip around the SEC on the AU Wishbone Podcast Video Show Edition.
Very nice.
All right, so what do we got going on around the SEC this week? Because I have no idea.
All right, let's talk about it.
I just know we're playing Georgia. That's all I know.
You don't know who else is playing. All right, so let's talk about those games.
Oh, that's right. Here we go. Oh, here's our keys to the game for the Auburn Georgia game first. We can go ahead and get that.
So
go ahead.
again, one of the things we said a couple times already is Georgia has not played a road game other than at Tennessee and at Vanderbilt. And the Tennessee game was when Tennessee started a true freshman quarterback, and their fans were still at the kind of given up point. So they haven't faced a rough road crowd at all. I think that's going to be a huge difference.
That's huge. Absolutely.
It's going to be gigantic. The same way it was in 2017. Fromm's not a freshman anymore, but the crowd is still going to bother their offense a lot. And the crowd needs to bring it tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And then having Boobie, we just talked to Devin about this, that having Boobie and DJ both in there should make a difference. The one thing I forgot to ask was, what difference has it made Cadillac Williams being our running back coach, do you sense that we're doing things differently in how we handle the running backs?
Well, I mean, we're 100% doing the running back committee thing that we didn't do before.
We didn't do before. That's
and
right.
I think we've seen an uptick in recruiting at the running back position. We got Tank Biggins committed for next year.
A Tank. I'm going to have to get a sound effect for that, clearly. I'll come up with something.
Please send in suggestions for the Tank sound effect.
I'll just go through some World War II movies and I'll find something good. Fury.
And so I think the biggest thing is that rotation thing that every year we got to the Georgia game and our running backs were all hurt and we were worn down and they had the edge, and now we're entering the game and they're banged up. Their best receiver's banged up.
The shoe is on the other foot for once.
Yes, their center is banged up, and now we have two healthy running backs that are really going to be able to play at the peak of their ability in this game.
Finally, yeah.
And I think that's a gigantic change.
Usually their players, their star players that have been doing bad stuff are coming back from suspension miraculously the week of the Auburn game. It's crazy how that works out, whereas usually our best players have gotten hurt right before the Georgia game. So
it's uncanny.
It's really amazing how that worked out. All right, what else? Go ahead.
All right, so if you watched the Georgia game where they lost to South Carolina, one of the biggest things that happened in that game was South Carolina has a really good defensive tackle, probably the second best defensive tackle in the league after Derek Brown.
If only we had a defensive tackle.
Yeah, it's shocking. And this is the thing, was that guy made all the difference in that game. He tore Georgia apart, and he really stuffed the run and disrupted what they were doing on offense. That was a big difference in that game. He was the most valuable South Carolina player, and he's not Derek Brown. He's not as good as Derek Brown. So this
makes my heart feel good.
Something to keep an eye on.
All right, let's see what else is going on.
The big thing is they got DeAndre Swift is the guy. He's the guy on offense that we got to stop. He's explosive. We got to be watching him every single play. We got to tackle him immediately. We can't let him get up and going because he's a guy that could turn a 2-yard play into an 80-yard play. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yet I felt like who did they play?
Missouri,
but before that, Florida kept him under wraps for a good part of the game, and so he hasn't been super awesome. He's been okay.
That's right.
So
we got to keep him bottled up.
All right, who else is playing?
All right, so the noon game tomorrow, Alabama at Mississippi State.
Federal law mandates Mississippi State never wins this game.
No. I don't even know what the record is now, but Alabama owns them.
8,000 to nothing.
Alabama's going to take out their frustrations on Mississippi State tomorrow.
Oh, they are. Man, it'd be bad enough to be Mississippi State in that game if Alabama had beaten LSU. Now?
All right, the other early game, the early CBS game, they're doing the noon 3:30 doubleheader, is Florida at Missouri.
Oh, so you're telling me there's a chance. It's at Missouri.
I'm telling you there's a chance. It's at Missouri, and Kelly Bryant is back, and Missouri's a much better team at home than on the road, so I think there's actually a chance that they can beat Florida.
There's actually a chance. What?
My cold, dead hands.
Lock of the week.
Florida's going to win.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Kentucky at Vanderbilt. Why would you watch this game?
If you like seeing a wide receiver run the triple option against one of the two worst teams in the league, then this is your game. And honestly, as a football guy, I actually mean that. I would watch that to see that.
Either that or you're directly related to one of the players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If your last name is the same, you'll watch that game.
So, and then one of the night games tomorrow is LSU at Ole Miss. So,
I heard Cookie Monster, LSU's coach, I heard him saying that there's a rivalry game. We got to take them seriously because there's a big rivalry. Ole Miss considers us one of their main rivals. It could be a rivalry game. We got to be able to. So, I guess they're, LSU's don't want to let down. Could this be for LSU?
It's a trap.
Could it be?
It could. Again, because LSU has, they beat Alabama last week. They got this, and then they got A&M coming up. And they got A&M in 2 weeks.
If LSU loses to Ole Miss after beating us, I don't know what I'm going to do. No.
Now, again, it's not going to happen because Ole Miss can't score enough points. LSU on their bad day is going to score more than Ole Miss can. Yeah. But Ole Miss could muck around and make it competitive.
They could for a little while.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see an Ole Miss team that can run and stop the run. This is like a different world. So.
We're in the upside down.
Oh, the chickens and the collie dogs.
Chickens and collie dogs. Again, an ugly game, two teams beating each other with sticks, and not a whole lot to watch.
Overpaid coach versus coach that may be booted out of there. I mean, would you fire Muschamp after this year, or would you say, dude, you had to play a schedule even harder than Auburn? And
they had the toughest schedule in the country.
They beat Georgia.
They did. I don't think he's doing great stuff there, but I wouldn't fire him after that.
Yeah.
I think their non-conference schedule is Clemson, North Carolina, and Appalachian State.
Isn't that funny? You think, oh, well, Appalachian State, at least we got to play them. Oh, wait. Yeah. Didn't they beat both Carolinas? They're the Carolina State. They're the Carolina bi-state champions.
They are.
Wow, that's awesome. And oh man, it's a tough week for Arkansas. I don't know.
Arkansas is a 7-point underdog versus Idle.
Idle U. This is tough. I mean, Arkansas doesn't match up well against Idle. It requires them to actually score some points, and I don't know if they've got it in them. So, but honestly, it is an exciting week for Arkansas because it's a week where they might actually not lose a game, and that's the
great hope.
Time to celebrate. Absolutely.
So, any feelings about their coaching search?
Oh well, I know that there's been talk of somebody, but I don't really want to go into that.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
We'll put a marker in there. Tennessee's third in the SEC East.
What the hell is the world coming to?
And that one, I appreciated the sound because that was appropriate.
That was, well, I mean, what are you thinking about Tennessee? Are they going to be a competitive team going forward, or is this just like a fluke this year? Did they hire the right coach?
I mean, I don't know if they hired the right coach or not. I think they still should hire Mike Leach or whatever, but I think Pruitt is. You can see they have improved this year. I mean, especially like the second in the Alabama game, they played better. They played better since then, and it's the same thing with Florida. We want Tennessee to be better because they play Georgia, they play Alabama, and when Tennessee's better, those teams have a tougher game. So I want Pruitt to make.
And we never play them, so what do we care?
I mean,
we've played our 1 in 12 year game with them, so I don't remember how it came out. I have no memory of that. Oh well, who cares?
Yeah. You remember? We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, so. What's left on our agenda? Are we getting close to the end?
We are.
It is 1:58. Man, when we bring a show in on time, Holy cow. You want to throw a couple of bouquets out?
Thank you, Auburn University Bookstore, for having us here, for letting us set up and take up their space while they're trying to sell merchandise, and people are actively walking behind us, shopping for shirts and school supplies and getting their laptops repaired and stuff here.
Well, I just want to say, last year, AU Bookstore let us come here and do this sight unseen, not knowing what it was going to be like, and they actually let us come back again. So I don't know if they're all
smoke weed every day
or what, but we appreciate it because it's awesome. It's good to have a home here, to come in and do the show. It's like I feel like we're really at home. It's nice, so it's good.
Okay. And we have to say that the doing the show here, the technical parts of it, and broadcasting it live could not be accomplished without our wonderful producer, Auburn Elvis. So I would like to take a moment, Ellen. Everybody in the studio audience, we're going to hear for Auburn Elvis. So all of this, the equipment, the setup, broadcasting it live on the internet, they're transmitting it to YouTube and stuff, it's all him. And he deserves all the credit for that.
Yep, amazing.
So I really, really, really appreciate all the work that he put in.
Yes, we do. So. Anything else we got to thank?
I think we're there.
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
It's always good to see you, man. All right.
We do this show every week, and we talk to each other on the internet, and we never actually see each other in person.
No, I know it. But as we always say, we would have these conversations anyway. It's just cool to be able to share them with people and give them a little bit of entertainment, maybe.
I'm going to tell a story now. In the early '90s, like right after we hired Terry Bowden as our coach, I was living in Northern Virginia, and I was finished up grad school, and I was working at a defense contractor, and they had they didn't have a voicemail system. They had a receptionist answer the phone, and they would write down the messages, and then you put your name on it, and then they'd say on the message who called you or whatever. And so occasionally Van would call me, and I would get a message, and she would write it down, and I would get it, and it would say, "Terry Bowden called you." And I would be like, I know who really called me.
That wasn't me. That must have been Pat. All right. Well, I guess we're going to enjoy the game tomorrow. So I guess we'll be back home by Monday night and can do our regular show talking about what happened.
That's the hope.
There won't be any Sunday afternoon video show this week because this is the video show. But join us Tuesday, I guess, for the Monday night audio show, and then we'll see you probably next Sunday on YouTube for the because after that. Do I have it on? Oh, yeah. Because after Georgia's over, we turn all of our attention to
Sanford Hate Week 2019.
John, you and I are
just two little country kids outside misbehaving.
And our time is up. We thank you for yours. War Eagle, John.
War Eagle, man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all for hanging out. It was awesome. Appreciate it. We got our little business card, so if anybody doesn't know about the show, you want to come pick one of these up. It's got the website and stuff on it, so you're welcome to it. Delvin, thank you for coming by, man. That was awesome.
I'll equip you. Be still.
I don't know what's going on with it.
It's equipped to the back of your shirt.